Alright, we are back. Day 100. I am going to start off straight away by working on this base. I so lied. I spent a couple hours blowing shit up in the nether instead. Then I actually smelted on my netherite, turned it into ingots, and applied it onto my armor, or at least I wanted to. So it turns out that I didn't actually know you need upgrade templates or something like that from bastions to upgrade gear now. And I wanted to avoid bastions because the people there can absolutely destroy you, but I guess I've got to do it anyway. Found one. You can all die. And you can give me all your gold. Oh, there's one of those template thingies I needed. And some netherite, and there's another one. Nice. Right, let's put this onto here. And there we go. There we go. Get all our tools. And which piece of armor? Probably the leggings and boots, because we won't be taking those off. Chuck this onto here. And there we go. We are fully netherite. Well, not fully. We're mostly netherrited. Then I dug this massive hole to get a bunch of stone so I could finally start work on the main bit of my base. And the reason I didn't just strip mine or something is because I actually have massive plans for this hole and it's going to be very useful even though it really doesn't seem it. Either way, the first thing I was going to build is a giant wall, and the reason I'm doing that is because I felt like the area around my base was a bit empty. And in my first video, in the part 1, I said that I want to work more with the terrain that I've got around me. And as soon as I didn't like it, and I told myself that I'm not moving base, I built new terrain. And this took a lot longer than it was meant to. A lot longer. But it's okay now, because it was honestly so worth it, and seeing it complete, I can't wait to see what else we can do in this world. Also, if you have any ideas about anything you'd like to see, make sure to leave a comment and let me know. I read all my comments, so you might just see your idea in the next video. And with that, I finished the main bulk of the wall and took a break to make something I should have probably made a long time ago, and that is an iron farm. Ironically, the first thing I needed was iron, so I decided to go to the mountains, get some iron, and it didn't actually take all that long. I came home with quite a lot, smelted it, and then got the rest of the materials I needed for the farm. Next I had to find the spawn trunks again, and as I couldn't die because of hardcore, I went into the end and back through the portal to return to my spawn point. At spawn, I cleared out 4 chunks which would always be loaded and produce iron wherever I am, meaning I don't have to waste time being AFK. And then I started building the farm. This required me to capture a zombie in a boat to scare the villagers and trap it into place using glass. This proved much easier than I initially expected and only ended up taking a couple of minutes. Now for the hard part. I need 3 of you. Now I don't actually think that there are 3 spare villages in that village. I could only find the one, so we're gonna have to find another village, and that might be a bit of an issue. There we go. Actually, I think this one might be closer to spawn than the other one, and it has a pretty damn cool cave right there. I spent days 126 to 128 getting obsidian for nether portals so I could link the village to spawn, and then sending 3 priests into their pods. Once they were in, I finished the rest of the farm by building the spawn platform, kill chamber, and placing my hoppers. Now, all that was left was to actually test the farm and see how much iron we get. I AFK'd for 2 whole days and got 0 drops. However, after quickly troubleshooting the farm and adding some trapdoors, I saw iron golems straight away. And with that, the farm should always run, even when I'm not near it. On day 132, I enchanted a bunch of books, and the next day, a diamond hoe. I used this to get saplings which I would need to continue building my base. And I got a lot of saplings. No, really, a lot of saplings. I then planted all the saplings I had, which wasn't enough, so I had to go and get even more, but eventually, the majority of the area was covered in trees. Now that it had been nearly an hour, I checked on the iron farm and found that it was working, without me being AFK. I was making around 220 iron ingots per hour wherever I was, which is really not that bad. Now that I didn't have to worry about iron again, I decided to keep working on the base, and while the cliffs looked good, they were only an outline and really needed detail. For this, I found some moss on a shipwreck and a treasure map, but my memory's shit and I forgot that I'd already been to this treasure map. I finished off the day without anything too interesting happening and just farmed some moss. On day 137 I gathered some more materials for the base and then spent ages looking for a lush cave. While flying around I found some really cool terrain where I might build in the future, and eventually, after way too long, I finally ended up finding what I was looking for. I dug down into the cave and killed all of the mobs there before getting a bunch of materials for the base. Then I found this cute little guy and decided to take him home as a pet. I finished off the day by getting some vines and azalea leaves for the wall. And then from day 138 to 143 I literally just placed glowberries and leaves. For 5 days. Around an hour and a half of my life, in 12 seconds right here. That is it. Then I took a break and checked on the iron farm and realised that I needed paper to fly. Urgently. So I spent my next 3 days doing what any sane and reasonable person does and dug a massive fuck off hole. Now it might seem pointless right now, but there is actually a big plan for it, I promise. The thing is, you won't actually see the big plan in this 100 days, so if you want to see more awesome shit built, it'd mean a lot if you took a moment to like and subscribe. Anyways, I realised just how many blocks I was actually getting, so I needed more shulkers to move them all. So I went back to the end and found some insies. I was really surprised with just how many I found, and in only 2 days as well, my luck has been much better than it usually is. After this, I went home and sorted through the massive amount of loot that I got. Day 150, I was running low on steak, so I killed some cows and fortuned some coal to cook the meat. Then I spent days 151 to 153 getting sand and gravel. A lot of sand and gravel. Now I needed to turn some of the sand into glass and tried to build this mini auto smelter, but it was still just way too slow, so I threw down a bunch of furnaces and ended up doing it manually instead. On day 154 I realised I needed a lot of ink, so I decided to build a squid farm. The first thing I'd need is sponge, so I brewed water breathing potions and went to find a sea temple. On my way I got some milk too to get rid of the mining fatigue effect from the Elder Guardian. Luckily for me, I remembered that there were about 4 sea temples right next to my spawn, so I found one really quickly and went straight inside. I killed all 3 guardians with absolutely no issues, got all my sponge, and got out as quickly as I got in. When I came home, I collected my iron from the iron farm and got the rest of the materials for the squid farm. Then I had to actually find a place to build it, and found a tiny cherry blossom biome and a really rare ice spikes not too far from my house. This was cool, as we'll probably need a lot of ice in the future for some of the projects I have planned. Anyway, I eventually settled on this little bit of river to build the squid farm. Now unfortunately, I lost a lot of the time-lapse footage for the farm for some reason, but I do have a couple clips. Essentially, I built a central spawn and killing chamber and then had to drain the river for 128 blocks in all directions. This took me all the way up to day 180, and even then I didn't manage to finish, so I will have to save this and the plans I had with the black dye for the next 100 days. Here you can just see me flying over that 6 hours of work. Also, I wanted to quickly mention, if you guys want to see this kind of content, it really does take a long time to put together, so please let me know you enjoyed it by leaving a like and subscribing. Also, if you'd like to see this kind of thing live, then feel free to subscribe on Twitch, link in the description below. After I got fed up with draining a river, on day 181 I built a path from the base entrance to the village. It ended up looking like this, and I was actually really happy with the way it turned out. On day 182 I decided to build a pond because who doesn't love a fucking cool pond, right? So I made my way to the nearest coral reef, I got sea pickles, I kidnapped a few fish, spent way too long naming a pufferfish, cleared some trees, dug a hole, filled it in again, filled it with water, made it passably pretty, and added some fish. And don't you worry, the pufferfish absolutely got a name. The next day, I tried to rescue a villager who got himself stuck on the ledge of a cave, but he just got himself stuck again. Then I thought, hey, why don't we make this hole more hole-shaped? I finished the day doing exactly that, and then the day after I decided, fuck it, crane. And the next day I said, fuck it again, barrels. I finished the day by filling in a hole and then blowing some houses up, and then I filled in another hole, and I was doing all this to make space for a building that I wanted to add to my town. Now after quickly clearing out some paths, I began actually building it, and I didn't really know what I wanted it to look like, so I just kind of went with it, and I think it turned out pretty well. Either way, the building was going to be a farm building so I could store all my animals, because as of right now they're just kind of scattered in my garden, and that's definitely not a good look. I think it really looks amazing here with the shaders on the wall in the background, and I'm honestly so excited to see what else we can do because I've got an absolute ton of insane ideas for new projects in the future. Anyways, I finished the building and now came the hard part,
because I had to actually transfer all my animals into the new pens, and if you've ever played Minecraft, they just hate listening. As you can see here, it just turned into an absolute mess, and I ended up having to kill most of them off. Eventually though, I managed to get them all in, and then I repeated the same thing for all my chickens. I finished off my day with blowing up yet another house because I had plans for something that's just way more important. And obviously, that building is a pub, because what village doesn't have a pub, right? Like, in England, you can find one just about anywhere, and for anyone out of England who might not know what a pub is, it's basically a bar, but with vile food and 5-year-olds running around. Anyway, tangent over, I finally finished the building, and then I moved on to day 194. I just decided to relax a bit this day and extended the path so that it actually goes into the village now. The next day, I planted a lot more trees and did some general work on the terrain, building an entire river running through this field. Then I spent a whole 3 days hoeing before horrifically underestimating the number of seeds I'd need to actually fill this massive field in. So I got some bones for bone meal and built a very makeshift auto farming thing. But either way, it did the job quite well. And then unfortunately, we ran out of time, so I just about managed to finish planting all of my seeds, but I didn't quite get done with this area. I do have some really nice plans for it, and it's going to look absolutely gorgeous, so I can't wait to finish that off. And that is it, that is the end of the 200 days. We ran a bit over, but if you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like and let me know that you want to see more of this type of content, because it does take a lot of time and effort. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.